I'd like to welcome you out to the Planning Commission, March 22nd, 2022. Would like to open it. Roll call. Chairman Cox here. Chairman Ferris.
Here.
Chairman Heyman.
Here.
Bernie.
Here.
Okay, we're all present. He is joining us.
Yeah, Commissioner Jenkins will be joining us on the WebEx, so he should be on in just a minute.
Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
No. Where to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So is William online yet? I don't see him.
No, not yet.
No. Okay. So we'll acknowledge him when he comes in. Do I have an approval for the agenda?
So move.
Second. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris?
Aye.
Commissioner Heyman? Aye. Commissioner Mondragon?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Do I have an approval of the minutes of 1:25:22?
So move.
Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris?
Aye.
Commissioner Heyman? Aye. Commissioner Mondragon?
Aye.
Okay, 4 ayes.
Thank you. We're at the public comment section of our agenda. Persons wishing to address the commission on matters that are within the commission's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to Brown Act, the Planning Commission may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to an hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Do we have anybody that wishes to address the Planning Commission? And for those who are out there, can you hear me okay? Okay. Seeing that there are none, we will move on. I'd like to move on to the public hearing section. I am going to open this public hearing. This is a site plan review, 22-02 Oasis Motel Edition. Consideration of an application for 14 additional units to an existing motel located at 831 North China Lake Boulevard, Zone General Commercial, APN 067-02-11 and 067-022-10. Staff report.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have confirmation from Commissioner Jenkins that he is on the line. So, with that, I'll move forward on this. We did not have enough information to move forward with the site plan review tonight, but I wanted to be able to show you guys just a little bit about what they intend to do. The intention is to expand the motel at the existing site on China Lake. The property that they own an additional parcel in the rear that connects to Sanders Street. So the intent would probably be some circulation on Balsam and Sanders. They want to add 15 long-term stay units. And this is a concept drawing of what they intend. It's kind of interesting. This company uses recyclable material and 3D prints these accessory dwelling unit structures. So we look forward to getting some more information from the applicant and moving that forward. So we are going to continue or ask to continue this item to the next regular scheduled meeting, which is April 26th.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Then I would recommend that we continue this to our next regular meeting. Do I have an approval? For a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris?
Aye.
Commissioner Heyman?
Aye.
Commissioner Mondragon? Aye. And Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on, zoning clearance review ordinance recommendation to the City Council for an ordinance amending position of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code to include zone clearance review. Staff report.
So this item was brought about last year as we, not planning so much, but in the building department where they started having some occurrences happen where people were remodeling and discovered, one, pulling building permits or not pulling building permits, that they did not have the correct occupancy for the use that they were using the building for. And so that's really a health and safety issue. So what we're trying to do with this ordinance is to provide a way that when people come and try to get a business license, that we can assist them better and let them know the total information on what would be required to occupy the building. So there's planning, obviously, which generally happens, but that's less restrictive than any of the, the occupancy use for building. So that's the intent of this. You'll see the proposed ordinance, and then I also included in here just to give you guys kind of an idea of what that application would look like. So the process would tell us a lot more about what they intend to do, because that's going to assist the building official on determining occupancy and any kind of hazards or something that may be in there. So that's it.
So let me ask you a question. I'm assuming, I'm making an assumption. So I'm assuming that this is broad enough to cover every zoning, whether it's an R1 to commercial, correct?
Right. But the majority of these things are going to be commercial, because they're residential. You're not generally going to open a business and change the occupancy unless you do a conditional use permit. So basically, anybody that gets a business license, we already kind of have that where if you apply for a building permit, you're going to get a planning review, right? We're going to make sure you have enough parking and that it's zoned correctly if you get a building permit. But there are people that don't get building permits because maybe they're doing minor alterations or something. And so the business owner may not even be aware of the, mainly fire requirements. And so for the business owner, it's just providing them an extra assurance to help them understand what's required so they can safely operate their business. Otherwise, the fire department's going to come along and tell them that their use is not, they don't have the proper fire safety, the fire sprinklers, or whatever it is for the use.
So a business owner could actually come to the city and say, I have acquired this commercial building, and can I know what the occupancy of it is?
Right, correct.
Okay, so they can do anything they want as long as it falls in the existing occupancy, correct?
Right, but anytime they have a change of occupancy, then we just need to be able to have that catch so that we can better help these businesses so they don't have surprises.
Which is just a conversation on a new,
Right, yeah. So that's all the
Business
application.
license.
That's all the application really is it just circulates it through the different departments. So from planning, or generally what we're thinking, the catch is going to be at the business license, because more than likely they're going to get a business license before they ever get a building permit. So it would go from business licensing to planning and on to public works and wastewater and, Travis's public works, wastewater, and building officials. So it'll go to public works, and then we'll all be able to comment it and give these people a better idea before they proceed.
so I didn't see anything in the material that gives allowance for an existing business owner that has an existing business license who buys a second property in town and occupies it as his business, that he would have to report anything. It's only when they're coming in for a business license,
Yes.
okay?
Well, that's our catch. It's not so much that it's what you see in here is anytime you pull a permit or a business license or do anything, then it triggers us being, knowing. Obviously, Some people do know about these things. Some people do call and know all of this stuff and know to ask these questions long before they ever get to the point of getting a business license. It's usually your smaller business owners that are more impacted by these kinds of things because they don't know to do that. But in general, a commercial developer of any sort is going to call long before and get a zoning verification and an occupancy use before they ever touch a building. But your smaller person may not be aware of that. I mean, certainly they're not aware of occupancy and building codes and fire regulations.
Well, and I was just trying to put out something that maybe you hadn't thought of from the standpoint, the sale of a property, being notified from the county of the sale of a commercial piece of property. If, Bernie's Landscaping comes and buys Three Palms Commercial Building, and he utilizes it for his business, he would never have to notify you, because he already has a business license.
Well, when he changes his address.
Okay. I'm just
Well,
Just
it's certainly something to think about.
thinking out loud,
Yeah.
from the standpoint that, commercial to commercial, I'm not sure that there would be any reason unless for some reason he hired 200 more employees and they were all going to be stationed there.
Well, right. And so, I mean, sometimes this isn't going to apply, right? Because if you're going from one professional office space to another professional office space, you don't need, I mean, the application.
Excuse me for picking.
I will say the application fee will be nominal. This is not going to be something that's going to be super costly to anybody, so.
Well, and I
in
don't
certain
want that
cases-
to be, but.
Right.
But I'm seeing what you're trying to do, but I'm just pointing out I see holes, and I'm just wondering whether or not there's a better way to do it. So, anyway, that was just my thought.
Yeah.
And so let's call this a first step, right?
Okay.
And see how it works out.
I have a question about.
Commissioners?
I have a question about the time. Do you see this as being potentially a delay for somebody opening? Or once this is started, does it sort of run concurrently with all the other things, so it's all done at the same time? I would just hate for this to be holding somebody up on their opening day.
Right. So depending on what they're doing, I would say it could be a delay, yeah.
Okay.
If you're trying to open a child daycare in a commercial building, you may have some pretty significant improvements that you would have to do. But for your average person, if you're opening a professional office, probably no.
Okay.
That would be very minimal. And if this would even be, entirely necessary, there may be a point where some of these things are just, it isn't necessary. But if you're, say, opening a gym in a retail store, then you are going to have a pretty lengthy list of requirements. And some of those things we're not going to be able to always control, right? Because the Kern County Fire will review this as well. So, that's outside of our ability. So it could take some time, but it would be better that they know now that they have to spend $50,000 on a sprinkler system than to open and find out that they have to spend.
My concern was more that they've done all that work.
Oh, yeah, no.
Then they file this, and then they're waiting for somebody to check off the boxes.
Right.
And in the meantime, they're sitting there with the doors locked, waiting for this to get processed. And then it's processed, everything's fine, and we've just delayed that opening for.
No,
to
the
process
intent would
paperwork.
never be to burden business owners. We're not trying to make it more, I'm not trying to add another step.
I understand what the intent is. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that that's the final
No,
outcome.
it would definitely keep moving and moving forward.
And see, and I would think that if I came in for a building permit and they gave you all this information, so we'd have to get it from fire and so on and so forth to do the remodeling. By the time you were through with the remodeling, the fire chief had already said, these
Sure.
are the improvements I have to have, or this is your maximum occupancy.
That's what I was saying about
Right.
running concurrently. So they're doing all of this stuff as this is getting checked off and then submitting it to the city.
Well, and before, if you had significant improvements that were required to make that building code, then the fire marshal would want to see those improvement plans anyway. So you would have to have the actual plans, so it'd probably be in building at that time.
Thanks.
But this is more of like to provide that, so like, that you would have to have sprinklers, right?
Right.
Or whatever there is that's going to be required. Or if it's, a restaurant, you have to install the grease trap. So this is more about like knowing beforehand what is going to be required to use that particular building.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners?
So this is basically intended to protect like potential business owners. Like, let's say that Warren goes and wants to rent a building on Balsam for, like a barber shop. He'd have, before he signs a lease with the owner, it would be a good idea for him to come to the city and say, hey, this is what I'm intending to do in this building. And then he's got the applicant would have like a checklist of things that need to be done so that he can operate that business at that location.
Right.
Okay.
Because maybe it's not the proper location, Maybe there's a more cost-efficient way for them to do it instead of, because there's things that people just aren't going to know. So, yeah, that's definitely the intent, is just to protect people before they know. And, I mean, this isn't like even, we could also do some outreach and work with some of the real estate companies as well that are renting commercial spaces and let them know that we're doing this too, so they're aware of what's going on their property. So it's not like the leasee against the property owner either.
But yet I would think if it was like kind, if it was a business office and I was, excuse me, putting another business office in
Right.
there, I'm not sure that
is
this would
relevant.
apply.
Right.
But like you say, if I was going to do a gym or a daycare or something that was going to increase the occupancy exponentially, then I could see how this would be effective. I'm not sure, under the current building code, whether or not we can require in an existing building that doesn't have sprinklers to put them in.
Yes.
So,
There-
but
there is
an
somebody shut
example,
down right
but
now.
if you change the occupancy, it may be a condition of,
Right.
but
So this
There
is,
you
I guess I should include also, this is standard across other cities. It's just a process we've never added. So this isn't, we didn't create this. This is used all over. This is just a general item from other people's municipal codes that we're trying to add to ours.
I'm not going to get catty with it. Because everybody else does it, we should. I'm
Because
just,
it's
I'm
been
kidding,
in
but
place for quite a long time. I don't want to take the credit for
I
inventing
see
some
the value of it.
amazing.
I see the value of it. I'm just teasing you, so anyway. All right. Do we have anything from the public? Okay, seeing that we don't, I would move that we approve Resolution 2203. Is that the correct number?
Yep.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Chairman Cox,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mondragon,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing. Moving on, commissioner comments on committee reports. Commissioner Ferris?
I'm sure the Economic Development Committee has met since our last meeting. We've discussed ICSC and the new opportunities there, and I think that's it.
Okay.
That's all I have to report.
Vanessa?
Quality of Life was canceled last meeting, and the city organization was canceled as well.
Okay, any other comments that you want to add?
No.
No? You want to be chair, right?
For quality of life, I would like to add the Clean California grant was awarded. If you haven't seen that already, that's a huge win for quality of life in Parks and Rec. Over.
Thank you. Bernie?
Infrastructure Committee, we met and talked about doing some traffic control or improvements for bicycles within the city. I think we decided that we would have further discussion on that.
Yeah, we had some of the bicycle stuff that came through infrastructure as well. We have an interested citizen that has brought some really good ideas to infrastructure. We've had them cancel the last couple of months. We got a cancellation for this Thursday on infrastructure. Commissioner Jenkins, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. Over.
Okay, are you able to attend the quality of life tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Okay, because I was going to go if you were unable. Okay, sir. Staff items?
None at this time. We do have some applications in, so we'll see how they progress and see what we have coming for you in the coming months.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, anything else that you would like to add this evening?
Nope.
Anything from the audience? All right, then I'd like to close our Planning Commission meeting at 6:21.
I'd like to invite Solomon.